Hey cutes, I hope you're all happy, and if not, I hope you're working towards that. Today's video is brought to you by yet another writing anxiety of mine, and that's that all of my characters either sound the same or they sound like bland caricatures instead of like fleshed out humans, or they all sound like me. So today I'm going to share with you a couple writing exercises that personally helped me. This goes beyond writing up a backstory and doing those awful character bios. If you're a writing nerd like me, then you've been online. You've read all the articles and, bought the How to Write for Idiots books and all of that kind of stuff. Listen to podcasts, and then you get to character bios, and they're awful. And I don't understand how writing down my characters' like made-up birthday and their favorite color and like the shade of their nipples and their favorite variation of potato is gonna help me figure out who they are as a human. So let's get started, because that's what every YouTuber says before they get into the fish and grits of the video. My first exercise is just to write a letter or a monologue for your character and make them lie. This exercise was originally given to me as acting advice to get more into character, but I've recently implemented it for a short story that I'm writing that I'm almost done with and I'm so excited about. But this exercise helps heaps because it helps you understand how your character reacts to conflict, all their weird little tics and movements that they do when they're nervous, their speech pattern. This also helps you form how your character speaks differently from one person to another. A college student who is a drug dealer is going to speak very differently to their mother than to the person that they're dealing to. For example, I have this character that I recently used this exercise on, and she's at a party and she's nursing a beer, and she actually hates the beer, but everyone else is drinking it and she just wants to fit in. And because of some game that they're playing, she has to tell the story of how she lost her virginity. The trick is that she is actually a virgin, and because of the character that she is, she goes over the top with all of these ridiculous descriptions, because my baby is a mess. This next exercise deals with flaws and how we are basically, as humans, just walking contradictions. This is to avoid really boring and unrealistically perfect characters. So what I want you to do first is to write down all of the wonderful, beautiful, charming things about your character, all their positive attributes. Then in another column or right next to it, whatever you want to do, I want you to write down all of the shameful, dark, dirty things that they've said, done, thought about, fetishes, secrets, the whole nine. Then I want you to go back to these dark things and in the voice of your character really try to have them justify and rationalize all these horrible things with their positive attributes, because we all do that. This creates complexity in your characters. For example, another character of mine, she's really adorable and ambitious and just says a bunch of like cutesy things like, oh, rats and holy ravioli, but at the same time she has a tendency to stick her foot in her mouth. And other characters will have to be like, hey, you're super adorable and I know you mean well, but please think before you speak, because what you just said was super offensive and you're kind of sounding like a privileged ass right now. I know you guys are past the point of trying to figure out, oh, what is my character's goal and what is their want versus their need, and do they achieve either of those in the end, but what really helps me is figuring out conflict and humor. Not only do they go hand in hand, but a good combo makes a really interesting kick-ass character. Conflict is the driving force of a story. We need it. So what I want you to do is get your character and put them in a situation that they would be horrible in, and then see how they react. For example, you could take a character that is super shy and squeamish and may run away from problems, but maybe they see a woman on the side of the road who's like broken down and she's pregnant and she needs your character to deliver the baby. You can change up that horrible scenario that I gave you. It could be literally anything, preferably something to do with your plot so that outlining kind of takes care of itself. But you need to figure out how they would react. Are they more on the logical side? Are they more on the feeling side? Are they passive aggressive? Are they flipping tables and shooting up the place? Are they sarcastic and curse a lot? Do they play the blame game? Do they try to run away from their problems? Now I want you to go back and add visual cues. This adds a whole world of subtext, and I love subtext. Are they like biting their nails? Are they pacing back and forth? Are they really on it and they know what to do? Are they super impulsive? In regards to conflict, I now want you to think of sadness as a kind of trigger or a high. And many people react to sadness in different ways. Do they have some sort of like martyr complex? Do they physically hurt themselves? To what extreme do they go to with their sadness, and how they hide it is a really interesting thing too. And also take a look at self-sabotage. A lot of people use sadness as a high. Take for example, I saw this movie where this character has an awful relationship with her dad, and nothing good can come from her going to see her dad, but she does it anyway. Why? Because it gives her an excuse to drink and to self-medicate. So think about that, how certain aspects of sadness or anger can trigger another thing in their life, a subplot maybe. Really quickly, let's talk about humor. Humor is the thing that can bring the most horrible, despicable character back down to earth. And humor can be a coping mechanism too, no matter how it manifests itself. Some people are actually the funniest when they're sad or when they're annoyed. They get super sarcastic. So think about it that way. What does your character do? Do they get like super clumsy? For me personally, my dog, please stop. For me personally, like if I get really uncomfortable, I'll just start laughing, or I'll just start bopping around like when I'm like really anxious. And there's no music playing, this is just me just trying to cope. Is your character like a whiz at puns? Do they tend to make like really inappropriate jokes even though they don't mean to, just because they're nervous? I know that when I get nervous, I tend to sometimes have an absence of humor, and like all of my like, humorous genes like drain from my body, and I can't think straight at all, and sometimes I even do like a really weird voice. Final and favorite exercise is really simple and really quick to do. All you have to do is write down where your character is emotionally from beginning, middle, and end, and how that changes from act to act. I do this so I have a clear arc in mind and I know what to reveal in what act. Like many other writers, I like to split the middle, or Act 2, into two parts because I have a tendency to pander. And so me going, okay, how is my character feeling at this moment? And what is the most logical, emotional response, knowing what they've been through and how they react to conflict? What is their response going to be that ultimately catapults us into the next plot point? Now for some quick tips and tricks and smaller scale exercises for you to do to create better, more vibrant characters. Number one is stop trying to make your character likable. Just try an exercise where you stop trying to make your character likable and just make them interesting. 2, steal a friend's personality. Write down all of their flaws and all of their weird little tics that they have and implement them into your story. I actually got this idea from my professor. It's the only good idea that he has had this entire semester, even though we are spending thousands of dollars, is to write down a bunch of weird questions, ask them to a person, and don't write down their answers, just write down their body movements and what makes them like kind of lose it, like with an offbeat question. That one's actually really cool. And number 3 is to carry around a notebook and work on different speech patterns. People talk differently, and that's the easiest way to tell characters apart. My girl Rosie in my story is super cute, and in a bad situation she would just say, "Oh, rats," or something to that effect. But Jack Twist in Brokeback Mountain, he would say, "Oh, this is a goddamn bitch of an unsatisfactory situation." That perfectly sums up him as a character, and I love it. Just write down things like that. Alright guys, I hope this helped. That's all that I have for you today. At the end of the day, only you can make your characters better, and that just takes time. I'm at the point now with an edit of my story where I know these girls, I know how they look and sound and move, and it's all just starting to come together, so it just takes time. Don't stress yourself out about not having like the best character voice in the world. It will come to you eventually. So I hope this gave you some writing inspiration. when you're done watching this video, go write. Right now. This video's over. Go and bring out your laptop or your notebook, whatever it is, and write. I believe in you, and I know that you can publish your story. And I'll see you in my next video. Bye!